I am astrologer Kasle, and in this video, I would like to show you why I fell in love with astrology. This is going to be a video with a little bit of something for everyone. If you are completely new to astrology, you're just starting to get into this, you're hearing about it, you're kind of curious about it, then this is going to give you a really good foundational understanding of what we use astrology to look at and understand about ourselves and our lives. And if you have already started studying astrology, then this is going to be a really good reminder for you to continue to come back to the basics, because at the end of the day, there is so much that you can figure out when you are looking at charts just by remembering the basics. You know, I have so many people that come to me. They've started studying astrology for a while, but they're like, will you tell me more about my Venus or my Mars or whatnot? And they've started reading books and things, and they get really caught up in this, in memorizing this and all of the things here. And like, what does the 10th house mean? What does Aquarius mean? What does Scorpio mean? And honestly, if you can remember the actual meanings of astrology and the story of life, essentially, which is what I'm going to go through today, I promise you're going to be able to figure out way more of what you're trying to discover just by going back to the basics. So I fell in love with astrology because it is such a beautiful system that encompasses all of life, and it literally synthesizes the entire human experience, and it encapsulates all of the different flavors of being a human, of personality traits, of the different experiences that we can have. And it came to me, and I literally say that it came to me at a point in my life when I had so many questions that the religions and some of the other things I was doing at the time, like neuro-linguistic programming work, inner child work, shadow work, I was going through this period of asking all these questions. Why am I the way that I am? Why do I feel so unhappy at this point in my life? Why are certain things going this way or that way? And I was getting breadcrumbs of answers, but there was nothing that could zoom out and show me the whole picture. Like when you do neurolinguistic programming or inner child work, for example, you will go into these journeys. You may end up doing like a hypnotherapy session, and you're going to see one little snapshot, one little breadcrumb of what the situation is. But that doesn't zoom out and give you the whole picture. It doesn't necessarily show you. It'll show you like where your trauma or whatever it is you're dealing with came from. But it doesn't zoom out and show the holistic perspective of life. And especially because I came into this work through my health journey, which my Pluto was going through my 6th house at the time. So I was getting my whole transformation in the area of health. That is where the spiritual lessons were coming through in my life. And through that journey, I realized I had to stop looking at things one little piece at a time, and I had to zoom out and see the whole picture, which is what astrology shows us about our life so well, how everything is connected and how everything is intrinsically linked. You can see all those links so easily using astrology. And There were also a lot of questions that just were never answered for me in religion. And I was a very curious kid. I have a lot of Aquarius. So, especially if you have a lot of Aquarius out there in your chart, or if you have a lot of Gemini, and I see this in my students too. And I just love it whenever I see these students show up. They're the kids that are asking, why is that? Why is that? Why do I need to do this? Why should I do that? Why is this way? And I love those students so much because I was that way as a kid, and I had so many adults around me, and especially in the religions, when I'd go and ask, well, why is this way? Why should I do this? They would get mad at me, and they looked at me like, just be quiet, sit down and be quiet, and I shouldn't have to answer you why. They would say, this is just the way it is. But that was not satisfying enough for me. And you'll come to understand when we get to Aquarius in the wheel why this is, and why we need the Aquarians in the world to be asking the questions why, and the Geminis to be asking the questions why. So I found this system to be as beautiful, and it really is a reflection of mathematics and music. These are all just different reflections of the same thing. And these systems all are really reflections of the universal principles that make up the reality and the human experience in which we live. So if you can learn the wheel and you can learn astrology in this way, as looking at the story of life and all of the different, you could say, the coats or the characters in the movie that are being played out, when you go to study your own charts, you're going to find so much more in there than having to go and learn all these little individual pieces and parts. Look at it from the holistic perspective first, then zoom in and start to see all of the details. So let's dive into the wheel here. Okay, here is the astrology wheel. Now, whenever we start this wheel, we start over here at Aries, and that's why I've put it here at the beginning. And we start in the season of spring. For the sake of this little talk, we're going to use the analogy of a farmer who is growing his very first crop and then building a farm. But he's starting over here just with a little plot of land, and he is going to build his very first garden over here. So with Aries, we have the very first thought. We have the spark, okay? We could say the spark, the inspiration that I want to grow a field of cucumbers, let's say, or a field of flowers. I'm going to plant all of these flowers, something like this, okay, in the ground. You have your first thought here in Aries. It's spring. It's starting to warm up. Now, once you've had that very first thought, you're so excited about it, you have all this fire to go and do it. Then you have to decide, okay, once I do end up growing these things, what are they worth? What am I going to sell those things for? If I had 2 of them, why is this one, if I have flower A and flower B, why is this one a lot more than this one? You're going to have to decide your value here and what you believe your product is going to be worth. And after you've had the first thought here, we're going to put that little reminder here. First thought, the idea. And you've decided how much you're going to sell it for. Value price. Now you have to start putting in the labor. Remember, Taurus is heavy earth. It is the bull that is pulling the tractor to go out and work in the fields. It's also the priestess, though, that sits on her throne and receives the gifts, that knows her value and her worth. But here it is the bull that has to put in the labor and the long hours of labor, and understands that it's going to be these steps one at a time to continue building. This is the person that understands that they have to build their dreams, their reality. Another reason I just want to mention that I wanted to give this talk is because what I am seeing in the manifesting world right now, especially we are in Neptune in Pisces times and now Saturn in Pisces times, which is at the very end of the wheel that we'll get to in a minute here, is having the feeling of being connected to everything, having the feeling of being connected to God, source, spirit, and manifesting from this feeling, which is very exciting. It's these Neptune and Pisces times have brought to the conscious awareness in the collective that we have to be aware of our subconscious programming and subconscious thoughts. However, we have to remember that the whole zodiac, all of these pieces of the puzzle to manifest our reality, still have to happen. We can't just jump from first thought to thing. We actually have to go and build the new earth. So I just want to remind all of the star seeds out there, the light workers, the people that are doing the subconscious programming work right now, the trauma healing work, that we can't sit in Pisces land forever, especially in a few years when Neptune moves into Aries over here. We're going to have to remember that we have to have the ideas and we have to go and build them ourselves. We're not just going to poof, magically this new world come about. We have to go through all of these experiences, and actually being a human on Earth is about having this full holistic experience of all of these things, experiencing all parts of self, that all of this is part of the game. It's all fun. It's all valuable. It's all spiritual. You're going to learn your lessons in life through this whole thing. Okay, so in the springtime, right, things are starting to heat up. We've got that first thought, that first spark of light, the first idea to create and build. We've set the price and the value for what we think this thing is going to be worth. Now in Gemini, air, using the mind. So we've had this inner spark, which really comes from the heart. It comes out of the heart. It goes up, and here we're going to set the value. We're going to feel it, earth. Now we're going to think about, and we are going to create our little pro and con list for the plan. We're going to start to look at all of the facts. This is perhaps where you're going to go out and you're going to look at your competition out there. You're going to look at the whole playing field and see, okay, if I want to do this, here's the pros, here's the cons. I'm going to go out and create my business plan, my marketing list, like create the lists. Gemini is all of the things I need to do and the good and the bad side to doing them. Once you have thought about that, you've looked at both sides of doing this, now you have to start getting serious about doing this. This is the interesting part about Cancer in this whole story creation. So just to give you a little background on the mythology of Cancer, which, let me see here, I had pulled it up earlier. Let me see if I can find it here. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, cool. So pull up the photo here. Okay, Cancer. The mythology around Cancer is really funny. So what happened is, let me actually go back just to remind myself on this myth here. Okay, so Zeus had laid with someone else, which is so funny, by the way, about when you go back and you study the story of the Greek gods and everything. And remember, before Constantine decided to make Christianity a thing, the Greeks, the Romans, they were all pagans. They believed in all of these gods. Constantine had an issue with his mother being pagan, so he decided to create Christianity to make that the thing, kind of in spite of his mother. But before that, people believed in all of these different gods. So when we get to Cancer, which represents our inner peace, our home life, we have to essentially, okay, if we come back to the wheel here, we have to have inner peace in ourselves to continue to pursue whatever this idea is that we are growing. Because remember, he's had the idea here to have the thing. He's put a value on it. He's started to build, he's started to lay the groundwork. Perhaps he's gone out and he has put the seeds in the ground. He's starting to think about the pro-con list of continuing this endeavor, continuing to grow his seed business, his flower business. But here, you have to have strong emotional intelligence to continue on, because you are going to be challenged on your journey. And essentially, whenever we reach Cancer in the mythology, this is where the first challenge comes up. Okay, so if we read the story here, Zeus, a lot of these gods, by the way, so this is what I was coming to, they were not necessarily good people. I remember that this is what people were studying before the Bible came about. And then Constantine and once the Bible and Christianity started to become a thing, this is where the church said, you're going to have a good life if you follow these rules. Now, they didn't tell people why to follow the rules, but at that time, most people lived in poverty, right? Because there was such a huge discrepancy between the rich and the poor. So for the poor people that had this programming that, oh, you're going to be my savior, you're going to help me, you're telling me these things, okay, of course I'm going to go along with you. If you're going to feed me, great. But they were living out of survival, right? But when you actually study where this stuff originally came from, these gods and stuff were not very good people. And then again, if we look at it's come out that, well, the priests weren't necessarily good people either, right? And the rulers were not necessarily good people either, which when you study astrology, you study all the signs, there is the higher expression and the lower expression of each side, and you get to choose which of those two you actually act out in your life. But just because you are a good person does not mean you are going to manifest. Here's another good reason to remember the story of this wheel. You have to keep going along the wheel, taking each of the steps to climb the mountain. Climbing the mountain, Capricorn, the 10th house, you have to make it all the way to the 10th house to get there, to get to the top of the mountain. That is a long journey. You have to keep going. You cannot just get stuck on step 3. You must keep going to climb the mountain, but you do not have to be a good person. You do not have to be nice to people to climb the mountain and to gain what in the West has been considered this success of getting the vision of success. And this is where in manifestation, you have to remember, you don't have to be a good person to manifest. Manifesting things in your life has nothing to do with whether or not you are nice to people. And this is, when we reach Cancer, this is a wonderful first step to realize that. So horrible people that are horrible to others can manifest huge things. They can manifest huge amounts of money, the big houses, the really pretty wife, the nice things in life. Okay. Same with the flip side. Some of the nicest people in the world will never ever manifest their wildest dreams because they are not willing to go on the journey. So it is so important to learn and understand all of the steps of the journey so that now as we move into this age of Aquarius, which is step 11, that you can have it all and be a good person at the same time. We want those two things to happen. Because in this age of Pisces, unfortunately, there's been a lot of these two splits. Really wonderful things, not getting everything that they want in life because they're falling for the Neptunian Piscean spell. They are disconnecting themselves from God. They're not understanding the true concepts of God. Whereas in this age of Aquarius, we are going to get this opportunity for a new renaissance where we get to actually combine both of those things, to be a good person and get everything that we want. So when we get to Cancer, people who can learn how to control their emotions and have inner peace, they can be soft on the inside. They can feel at ease with themselves on the inside emotionally, but keep the hard outer shell, are going to make it. They're going to make it to the next step. So with the mythology of Cancer, Zeus lay with the mortal Alcmene, and I don't quite know how to say that word, but okay, whatever her name is, Al, we'll call her Al, and gave birth to Hercules. Now, Zeus's wife, the goddess Hera, who's also known as Juno in Roman mythology, hated this, right? She was super mad at Zeus for this infidelity. So she got mad at and tried to kill Hercules throughout his life on a number of occasions. And on this particular occasion, she sent this evil creature that whenever Hercules, and I'll come down to, I really liked this photo here. Whenever Hercules tried to kill this thing, it would continue to grow 2 more heads. And funny thing, it had 12 heads to start off with. Now, where this battle was happening was also where this giant crab lived. And so he wanted to be in the good graces of Hera. So he came and he was trying to hurt Hercules as well. And he bit him on the foot. Now, unfortunately, Hercules was strong enough to crush this crab. So that's where, again, okay, we can't get stuck there. We can't get too stuck inside our crab shell, inside our home. We can't just focus on our inner peace all the time. We can't get too comfortable. We have to keep going on. But as a reward for the crab's heroic actions, Hera ended up making the crab a constellation. So it is a reminder to us that we do have to have some inner grit. We have to find that inner peace in ourselves. We have to lay our foundation of what we're doing. So in this story, right, he's had the idea, he's set his value, he started to lay the first crops, he's thought about the pros and cons. Now here he's laying the foundations, he's made inner peace with himself that this is the journey I'm going to go on. I have some tough skin, some soft inside, I'm going to keep going. Okay, we will write the words here. This is emotional intelligence. Hard shell, inner peace. Now we make it to Leo, and this is where, when he is going to take his product to market, he has to go and market it. And what sells? At the end of the day, it's not the thing that sells, it's the emotion that sells. It's the passion, it's the heart. It is someone feeling your heart that you put into this. He loved these flowers so much. He put so much love in them. Now he is getting to express his love for these flowers, express, maybe at this point he's making his marketing materials, and on that flyer, that poster, he's made this beautiful thing that expresses his heart and his love, and people can feel it. In Leo, people feel the joy, the romance. I'm not going to use the word passion yet because we'll get there when we get to Scorpio. But people can feel your heart for your thing. This is where you learn to express your heart outwardly. Again, it's fire, so it is the expression of thing. The crab, the emotions is more of an internal, whereas the Leo, the lion, the fire, the passion, the heat, the joy, the romance is so much more external. Fire, we see it. Crab inside, fire, Leo, passion outside. Now we get to Virgo, and it was really fun to go back and remind myself about the mythology around Virgo. So to give you the story here, Virgo is the name for Persephone, who is the daughter of Demeter, the goddess of agriculture. So Virgo herself isn't actually the goddess of agriculture, even though we see her with the wisp of hay. Now, what happened is Pluto, the god of the underworld, comes along and kidnaps Persephone and took her down to the underworld. And of course, the mother, Demeter, she was desperate to get her daughter back. Now, let's come back to the wheel for just a moment, okay? We started our story in spring, but remember, one of the very important things about remembering the wheel and how this encompasses all of our life's experience. So in the spring, he started to have the idea and lay the foundations for the idea. But now, once you have planted the seeds in the ground, as we talked about here in Taurus, this is where they start to grow. So you could also say with Cancer, okay, once you've put the seeds in the ground, you've made sure you have a well-laid plan, you have to give them their first watering. This is also where in the summertime, what else do plants need? They need heat. So things start to heat up in Cancer. They start to heat up in Leo. Leo season is prime summer season. It's super hot. Everyone is outside, right? Everyone's out in their bathing suits having a fantastic time. This is also about fun. We're going to have fun. At this point, the crops are in the ground. We just get to sit back. We put the maintenance, right? We give them the water. We give them the sunshine. We give them the love. But this is where we're going to have a good time while we wait for the crop to come out. Okay, so going back to the story of Virgo, we have this mother who is just outraged, right? She wants her daughter back. Now, during this, we could say, season of eternal sunshine where things are just growing and growing and growing, she leaves her crops in her daughter's absence, causing distress for the humans because she's going and she is looking for her daughter. Now, Zeus, who remember is the king of all of the gods, he was torn between watching this battle between his sister Demeter and his brother Pluto. So essentially this was a fight between brother and sister. And Pluto thought it would be really funny to go and grab Persephone. But Zeus is watching this whole situation. And he makes a compromise between the two. He sits them down and he says, okay, so, and I don't know all the backstory to this to understand, well, okay, why should she not get her daughter back fully? Why should she go back and forth between? But this is what was decided in the end. Persephone would spend half of the year with, okay, because she married Pluto, that's why, with her husband Pluto. So I think she does end up falling in love with Pluto. And half of the year with her mother Demeter. Now, this is how the ancient Greeks explain the seasons. When Persephone is in the sky, then the weather is good and things are growing. Summer season. And when we can't see Virgo, the growing season has come to the end. Now, if you go back to the wheel, okay, and we come back to this point, if Demeter mysteriously disappears and there's no more eternal sunshine, what happens? We start coming into fall. So this is the point here when we start to harvest our crops. As it starts to get to be fall, right? This is when we have our harvest. We take the things out of the ground. And you have to go in labor. This is another sign of labor. This is the sign also of organizing. You have to start to think about when I'm going to take this stuff to market and sell it, which we're not quite there yet. This first half is just about planting the seeds. Here we plant the crops. Here we let them grow. Now at the very end of summer, we take this harvest, which, by the way, if you're starting a business, you're going to go through this same cycle too. Same thing with the family, okay? And we're not quite there yet. So we have this individual that's come along. He's start this business. He's laid the groundwork. He's letting his crop grow. You're letting your business grow here. You're starting to reap some rewards. You're starting to make some money. You have your first harvest, your first product to take to market. Okay, but now we've hit the fall season. The temperatures are dropping. The days are getting shorter here. Now, this is where we reach Libra. And in the house systems, this is where we reach the 7th house of partnership. And he realizes, oh, okay, if I want to grow this business, I'm not going to be able to do it all alone. And also, when I take it to market, and now I actually, down here, I was just at my homestead alone by myself. I'm figuring all of this stuff out here down by myself. I'm doing it all with me, just me. Now, I'm going to go to market and I'm going to see who else is out there? How do I compare myself to other people? This is at the scales at the market. So perhaps you take it to market. Perhaps you need milk. You're going to have to put the things on the scale and say, okay, 3 bundles of wheat are equal to 2 gallons of milk or whatever. And also, this is where once you realize that if you want to grow your business, you're not going to be able to do it all alone. This is where you have to form partnerships. And the partnerships need to be balanced and fair. And it needs to be an equal exchange. This is where people get caught up with this word equal. It's not just equality for all. What does that mean? It has to be in relation to something else. It is an equal exchange of value. Something else to note about this too, because finally we've talked about one half of the wheel. Down here, again, you're only thinking about the self. This is also where when I'm talking to my clients, when I'm teaching classes, okay, if you think about this line here being the horizon line and the line on which an individual could stand, okay, so if we put the ground here and we draw a little human being, down here, you're doing the inner work. You're doing the self work behind the scenes, behind the curtain, the stuff that no one else out there sees. But up here, this is what, I could even draw this little sunshine up here. This is what can be seen during the day, whereas down here, I could even use like the color gray. This is nighttime. This is unseen by the world, whereas up here, this is during the daytime. So people didn't see all the hard work that you put in down here, but now they do. And now you're going to start to compare yourself to others up here. So you've formed partnerships. Now we're starting to create balance amongst the two things. So with the elements, fire, what does fire need to exist? It needs oxygen and air. Oxygen, air is fire's fuel. Both of them need each other. One cannot exist without the other. You do not know yourself until you know yourself in relation to something else, right? You put a value on yourself, but you're not actually going to be able to see that value until you get over here and you can start to compare yourself to others. And you can start to find out, is that value that I put on this thing, let's say I valued these flowers at $30. When you get up here to Libra, you take it to market and you go, oh, is it actually worth $30 or is it only worth $15? I don't know. Let's see. Okay. But you get up here in the life story, you realize, oh, if I want to expand this business, I need to see what is an equal exchange for my product. And I'm going to have to make some partnerships, bring some other people in to help me do the work, to help me expand. Now, this is also where if you're going to continue on, if the human race is going to continue on, you're going to have to build another human. You're going to have to, I shouldn't say build another human. You're going to have to create another human. You're going to have to create more of you, more of yourself. This is where we reach Scorpio. Okay, what happens when a woman has a baby? The baby is created in the womb, in the dark. You do not see the baby getting created in the belly. It is hidden. So Scorpio down here, you've gone through this first part of the experience, but now you have to start to take a really deep inner look at yourself and understand that there were parts of your personality that you're going to have to leave behind, that you're going to have to transform to reach the mountaintop, to get to the next level. You're going to have to become something else. This is where the caterpillar down here, you were a nice, very cute caterpillar doing all your caterpillar things. But now you've gone to the market and you've seen that there are butterflies out there. You've seen that there are people who not only just built one little plot of land and one little plot of flowers. There are other people out there that have a whole mountain of flowers. And you are like, oh my God, I want to build a mountain of flowers. I'm going to have to build these partnerships and I'm going to have to create more. And also, those guys up there, they don't really look like me anymore. There is something else I'm going to have to go transform myself into. I want to become the butterfly up on the mountain of butterflies. So Scorpio, this is where you're going to have to trust your partner. You're going to have to realize, right? You can't do it on your own. You've created this exchange. But this is where you're going to have to transform a part of yourself. You're going to have to let go of old parts of yourself. You're going to have to realize your true deepest desires. You know, maybe down here you thought that this was the first desire, but now you realize, oh my God, there's more. There's more that I can go and do. And wow, I feel this deep passion for it. Also take note, okay, this is the first opposition we had. So we had this opposition of providing the fuel for this initial thought, the fire, the air for the fire. What does Earth need? It needs water. It needs a lot more water. It needs passion-fueled water. Scorpio is the deep passion to continue on the journey that, no, I don't just want this. I want this whole mountain, but there is something deep inside of you that you are going to have to pull out of you to get up here and not just fall back and do this again. Yeah, you could stay down here, stay at this smaller level, but that's not what this story of life is about. You got to keep going. You got to keep growing to get over here. So you're going to have to deeply trust the people that you are working with, that you are going on this relationship with. You're going to have to go down into the cave, whether it is you're creating your baby, whether it is the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. You're going to have to cocoon yourself for a while. Go down, find all the shadows inside that you need to pull out, that you need to integrate into yourself, bring them to light, and you're going to have to transform. This is also where I love in this story how the visual representation is a wheel. As soon as you can understand that the cycles never end, some people in this lifetime, they're only ever going to do this work down here. And some people, their souls just signed up to make it through here in this lifetime. Then there are others that are up here. You're going to really work on this area of life in this lifetime. And some people are going to make it all the way to here in this life. We are all somewhere on this wheel. And all you need to know is that whether it's in this life, whether it's in the next life, this thing never ever stops. It keeps going on and on. But remember, what we're looking at right now is just a two-dimensional version of this. We actually, and it's funny even that this sign here in the two-dimensional view is this. I'm going to make this even red. Okay, is this 8? One of the biggest misconceptions about the infinity sign is people thinking, oh, it's abundance, it's going on, but actually that's only in the second dimension. What we really want is to see ourselves in the higher dimensions of understanding that we are a spiral going up and getting bigger. Oh, and what does that create? It creates a nice triangle, the divine trinity. So here you have to understand that to get to the next level, you have to transform. You have to deeply trust yourself, trust your spirit, trust your deepest desires, which you are going to feel. In the human experience, we feel those desires. We feel those emotions. When those emotions come up, you go, okay, if the good emotions are coming up, I'm going on the right path. So you go and you start to become the butterfly. You come out as the butterfly. Now, you're a butterfly, though. You're going to have to learn some new skills. And also you realize, well, you're not at the mountain yet. You don't know how to get up the mountain yet. Once you get to this 9th house to Sag, this is where, okay, you have your butterfly wings. You can move beyond this first little plot of land that you've created down here. You can go and explore other parts of the world. You can go and visit. When you were at the market and you saw all of these big mountains and these people with these other businesses and stuff you want to do, this is where you're going to go and learn new skills. You're going to learn new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking about your business, your ideas, your thing, before you climb the mountain, right? Before you climb the mountain, you need to have some new knowledge, some new wisdom and understandings of what it is that you're going to encounter on your climb to the mountain. So you're going to go find some sort of mentor, teacher. You're going to go and get an education somewhere. You're going to explore and you're going to learn more about the world. You're going to go learn, how did that person that I saw over here at market, how did they do it? You're going to go and learn when you get to here. This is all in the fall season. Now we reach another turning point. Something to note also with this, all these points that I'm marking, they're called cardinal signs because they are the start. So now we've reached winter. Okay, so through fall, you had your first harvest to take to market, right? You brought it to market. You realized you wanted to grow your business. So you went and you started doing the work right here in 8 and 9 to grow to the next level. You started this transformational process. You went and you learned. You learned how to deeply trust yourself and your others, your spouse, right? This is where you created the baby, right? This is 8th house, Scorpio. You conceived the baby. And actually, this would be the conceiving. Okay, think about that too. In terms of, so you've gotten married, you've created the partnership here. Now you've conceived a child. Now, while the child is in the mother growing, you're going to have to learn, oh no, okay, what are we going to do once this baby comes? And I'm going to create this family. That's the climbing of the mountain over here. I'm going to build this family, the next stage of development in my evolution. I'm going to have to learn some things about having a family, building a new homestead, building this life with someone else. I will tell you, climbing the mountain by yourself, which really is just all this work down here if you're doing it by yourself, is not so fun. Up here, all of these things up here are always you learning a lesson in relation to others. Others are watching you do it. It's in the daylight. It's in the sunlight. Others are watching you do it. You're watching others do it. You're always up here working with others. So in Capricorn, when we climb the mountain, we're doing it with others. This is where too, now you don't only have 1 or 2 people working with you. You have lots of people working with you. And you are overseeing, you're climbing this mountain here. You get up to the top, you're sitting up here. Let me move this too. We'll move it. Let's see here. Let me just find my iPad. I will move this guy down a bit. Okay, so when you get to be a Capricorn, you're sitting on top of the mountain looking down at all that is happening below you. You are looking down and watching all of the people work. This is why 10th house, the house of, in the sense of career, it's more that you've built something beyond yourself. You've built a system of people working together. You have a higher perspective, right? Because you've already gone, you went through the 9th house Sag, you educated yourself on how to do things better, more efficiently. You have better systems, better ways of doing it. So you're up here with this higher view of the world, of how things work, so that you can help keep everyone organized, keep everyone moving, keep everyone working together. You're that person up there looking down going, ooh, we need to shift things a little bit there. We need to shift things there, here. So if you're at this point in your life, or your soul signed up to be this person, in some sense, you already had to have gone through all of this journey. Now, perhaps you were innately born with some of these skills that you already knew how to do a lot of this already. Maybe you started out and when you were younger, you went through some big transformation. You went and educated yourself, and now you're sitting up here. But you don't get to Capricorn. You don't get to be the person who has literally this. The goat climbs the mountain. The goat doesn't just go to. Okay, let's say he did climb the mountain. He got tired of climbing the mountain. So he said, I want to build an airplane. Guess what? The person who built the airplane still had to go through this whole process. They had the thought about building the airplane to do that faster, right? They had the thought. They had to decide, how valuable is this going to be? They had to go and figure out all the things to build it. They had to have the courage to go and build it. They had to try it out. They had to realize, I can't build this airplane all on my own. I'm going to have to go find engineers to build the airplane. All the other people to help market. Think about all the people that went into building the airplane. Okay. So even there, you're up here. Now, okay, you've built the system, you've built the mountain. But what's next? Well, you're sitting up here, you have this higher view. Off in the distance, you see that there is another mountain range way over here. And you see that they have something shiny, something interesting that you don't have, and you are so curious about what is out there. So you say, oh, I have this idea to go to the new world, to look towards the future, to do things in a new way. That is what Aquarius is all about. It is about looking ahead towards the future. You've already done things this way, your way here, up till Capricorn. I want to do things in a new way. Aquarius, edgy. I'm bored with, I've done this thing over here. I'm bored. It's time to go do things in a new way. Aquarius, it's time to flip the system on its head. It's time to ask the question, why did we do all of this stuff in this way? Why, I see those guys way off in the distance doing it that way. Why are they doing it in that way? I have some grand new idea about, what if we could do it this way? Let me figure out why. That's the question that we start asking here in Aquarius. We start looking ahead to the future. You have to jump off of your mountain now and you have to go on a new journey and say, okay, it's time to look ahead to the future. Now, also remember, okay, in terms of the seasons. So spring, you plant your seeds. You've grown them, you've picked the harvest, you've brought it, you've sold it all. You stored some of it for winter in terms of the season, but you're looking ahead and going, oh, the next time I go around this cycle, right? I want to do things in this new way. And also, perhaps a big storm comes through. This is also okay. When we get to Aquarius, it's associated with the planet Uranus, which is the thing that shakes things up. It's the unexpected. So unexpectedly, in the middle of winter, we have a really bad winter. And unexpectedly, you lose for whatever reason. Maybe storm comes through and destroys half of your stores of food. Oh no, that was the unexpected. Aquarius always brings unexpected things, unexpected problems, unforeseen events. Crap. This old way that I was doing things, it's no longer working. I'm going to have to figure out how to do things in a new way. So you're in the middle of winter. It's dark. This is also the season, okay? If it's dark, you're stuck inside. I know this very well because I went to college in Rochester, New York. Tiny little city. I don't even know, like, city is kind of the wrong word, more like big town. There is nothing to do in winter. There is 6 feet of snow outside. There is nothing to do in the middle of winter but to sit around and practice my instrument. That's all I did. I got way, way better at my craft in the middle of winter because there was nothing else to do. You have to innovate. You have to figure out new ways of doing things here in Aquarius season because you're bored. You're stuck inside. There's nothing else to do. You have nothing better to do. So use your brain. Think ahead. Now, in this whole journey, though, you may also start asking the question, not only, well, yeah, it's actually exactly this. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why should I go on with doing this? Well, the answer when you get to Pisces is you realize there's actually nowhere else to go. Everything is connected. Remember in Pisces, it's the 2 fish. I'll just draw these little guys as fish who are connected here. They're tied at their tail. When you get to the big, wide ocean, okay, so let's say you're sitting around, you start to have this spark of idea. This is where it's the middle of the night. It's super dark, super cold, and you go into this deep meditative state. And you feel connected to everything. You feel amazing. You are in the emotions. You're in the dream world, the imagination of, oh my God, I cannot wait for this idea to blossom. I can see and I can feel every aspect of it. It's amazing. It is a dream, Pisces dream. If you start to listen to people's language and the words that they use, how they talk about themselves, their lives, their dreams, what they're building, growing, whatever it is, start to listen to their language and you'll be able to figure out their chart very quickly. So in the middle of winter, you're sitting around and you're dreaming. You go into this meditative state about your next endeavor, your next version of yourself here. And you realize, why am I doing this? Because the 2 fish here in Pisces, when you go into that meditative state, you feel and you realize that you are connected to everything and you realize there's nowhere else to go. That actually death in the way that Western culture has perceived it that's not the truth of reality. Over here, in Scorpio, you transformed yourself, but you still actually remained, the core of you never changed. I'm still Kelly through this whole lifetime, but there's going to be many renditions of Kelly through this lifetime. So that was one death. That was one transformation. Now over here in Pisces, this cycle, this whole first cycle comes to an end. But you realize at the end of the day that everything is connected and that this first cycle that you went through actually leads into your next cycle. It doesn't just die and then there's nothing left and start over. And we're reminded of that actually in Scorpio, because Scorpio is attached to the phoenix. So when the phoenix finishes its life, it bursts into flames and it crumbles down to a pile of ashes. But out of the pile of ashes, a new baby is created, is born. So it never fully died and just poof, disappeared, right? This is the law of energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It is simply transformed. It just goes from one state to the other, like water. It goes from water, you cool it down, it becomes ice, but then you melt it again, it becomes water, you keep heating it up, and then it becomes gas. It never actually disappears. It just keeps transforming. So through here, you were only down here focused on self. Then you were focused on self here in relation to others as you formed these partnerships. You created a new baby that you added to your family right here. And then finally, now here, remember, as we said, this is where the baby is in the womb. It's growing. We get to spring again. The new baby is born. You have added to your family. Now you get to go through this whole cycle again, building your first child, your first family, this first edition of the family. But what you realize in the meditative state, and as you complete this first cycle with whatever endeavor, is you realize everything is connected. One loop is going to lead to the next. One step is going to lead to the next, is going to lead to the next, is going to lead to the next. Everything is connected. This cycle continues on. Now, if you get stuck in 2 dimensions, you're going to get stuck in this loop and you're never going to grow anywhere. Don't get stuck in this infinite loop. You want to continue to grow upward, where your spiral, it's getting bigger and bigger and it's going up. It's actually going somewhere. You don't want to just get stuck in the 2nd dimension as we're looking at this wheel here. You want to make sure that you are spiraling up. But at the end of the day, this is the cycle of creation. You can't know yourself down here without knowing yourself in relation to others. And at each of these stages, the 4 quadrants, they were the cardinal, the start of something new. They were the beginning of the thing. After you had the beginning, you had the middle, the fixed point where you're like, this is what I'm doing. I had the idea. I started it. I got it going. Now I have to keep the plane flying. You went up with the plane. Now you're flying from point A to point B. I know where I'm going. Fixed sign. I'm growing. And then we have the mutable sign. You have to come back down. It's those 3 points: mind, body, spirit. The grand creation. So the grand creation story encompasses both of these. It has this element where you have to go through north, south, east, and west. And I drew a little person. There's actually 6 sides to the body, but if we're looking at the 2-dimensional plane, just with how our human body is built, there's a front, side, and back. Now, of course, with 6, we have the top and the bottom as well, which is 2 triangles. Okay, but both of those sides are there. And just as, remember, this is such a beautiful representation of reality, of creation, of our life, our human experience. Okay, so we've gone through these 4 quadrants. It is 4 times 3, that equals 12. And if we do some digital root math here, 12 is 1 plus 2 equals 3, equals the grand creation, the grand trinity. So the numbers And if we break down some numbers more, and I even drew here just so that you can see how we have the 4 quadrants, which represent the 4 elements, which, right, we are made up of the 4 elements. Water, earth needs water, fire needs air. So you have to have all 4 of those pieces. But within that, the trine is that there are the 3 water signs, water, 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 or the 3 earth signs, the 3 air signs, right? So it is both. You need both the 4 and the 3, the 4 elements and the 3 modalities to create our reality. If we break this down just a little bit more to look at some of these numbers and how it all works together. We have the 10 planets and we have the 12 signs. This is where I highly recommend going and looking into the work of Robert Edward Grant and seeing that with all the numbers, it all connects. We don't just have to use the Western mathematical system. We can also use the Eastern, the European system, right? That uses the cubic system, the decimal system, the system based on 10. So here in America, we use 12, but over in Europe and most of the rest of the world, they use 10. But actually, both of these systems are intertied. And in the astrology wheel, we have the 12 signs, but we have the 10 planets. Some other things to look into with the numbers and the planets and how all of this, it's all baked into the same thing. It's just different perspectives of looking at the same thing, which is why when you use the astrology wheel to look at your life, it's going to help give you a different perspective on your life. You're going to be able to go into the astrology wheel and you're going to say, oh, okay, I understand this story so well, right? You got my little analogy here. You're going to go and say, maybe I'm here now. Okay, so I realize my next step is going into Sagland, 9th house, travel, exploration, learning something new land. Or maybe I'm only down here. Maybe I'm just setting my values, so I'm going to have to go here. So it gives you a really good roadmap of seeing where you're at and also looking at your personality traits. Maybe I have a lot of Leo, but I'm ignoring my Aquarius energy because all of this is encompassed into you. You have all of this in you, in your personality and your traits somewhere. Maybe you're being a lot of Taurus and you're holding on to things too tightly. You are way too attached to your physical life the way it is. Maybe you need a new passion ignited in you. You need a little Scorpio energy to kind of come along. That Scorpion is going to go, I'm going to have to poke you a little bit to get you going, to move you in a new direction, to actually grow, because that's what we're here. Stagnant water, you will notice, especially cats, but dogs too. Cats will never ever touch stagnant water. They are always going to go and find the living, alive, moving water because they know it's good for them. They know the stagnant water is not good for them. It is not healthy for human beings to stay stagnant. We are meant to evolve and grow through this cycle. So just some other things to look at and see how this is all baked in. With the 10 planets that we have here, the first 7 are what we can actually visually see. Okay, this is visible. These are the parts of ourself that are actually visible to others and to ourselves very easily. And then over here, these are the unseen. These are the parts of ourself that are going to grow over much longer periods of time that we're going to have to do some digging to understand in ourself. If we just go through the 10 numbers, at least that we know of, if you look into Robert Edward Grant's work, he actually believes that there is 12 numbers, but we'll talk about that on another day. So 1 with Aries, right? We had our first thought about what it is that we want to do. But as a reminder, with Mars, your Mars is also your immaturity. You haven't gone through this whole story yet. You've just had this first idea. Oh, it would be so cool to grow a flower. You don't know all the steps yet, though. You don't know what personality traits you need to be a good salesman, to be a good partner over here yet. You still have some immaturity. You're really excited about doing it, right? But you're going to have to mature and grow, okay? So, first thought. Second thought, polarity. You're not going to know one without the other. You have to have something else. Number 3, and it is number 3. This creates the Holy Trinity. It is the very first shape. So we have 1, we have 2 sides, right? 3, we create the first shape, the first creation. 4 elements, though, much more stable than a triangle. 5, change. Woo! Fun, cool new shape. Interesting. Okay, I've explored my inner self over here, my inner world. Now I want to go see what else is out there. I'm going to create this crazy, weird shape. Over here, this is where we go on the journey to learn something new. If you also understand, this is the midpoint in 10, if we're just talking about 10. And it is half of the planets, where when we get to 6, we get to half of 12. This is also where as above, so below, we have to have the reflection, right? Because as I reminded you, this is the inner, the self. You have to have the other half, the others, to actually fully understand the self. We get to 7. This is a super spiritual number, the grand teacher. We have these 7 planets that we can learn. We didn't go into the planets today, but we can learn so much from the planets. They are our teachers. The 6 also represents, we are a spiritual being in a physical body, as above, so below, because 6 is the body, the 4 sides and up and down, physical body. We get to 8, which, if we say that there are 7 planets up here, we get to 8, Uranus. This is the planet of change over here. It is saying, get out of the loop, go do something different, go do something new. And finally, we get to 9. One of my favorite phrases for 9 is the stage where the drama unfolds. 369. It is the 360 experience. 3 plus 6 equals 9. It is everything. It encompasses everything, which, right? It's even if we look at this visual representation, the circle with a new stalk coming out of it. It's about ready to go and have a new experience. It's had the whole experience. It's starting to grow the new thing. And finally, we reach 10. There are 10 planets encompassing this whole experience. And you've gotten here, you've completed the whole journey. If we're looking at the journey on 10 as opposed to 12, you've completed the journey and you're starting back over again. It is 1 and 0. So this whole journey, we have first thought and then we get 1. That first thought, then you're going to go around and you're going to do it all again. So if you are learning astrology, you have to start with these understandings of what the wheel encompasses, this life journey, what each of the signs and the houses encompass, the stories, the understandings of each. If you can just learn and become acquainted with the characteristics and the stories of each of these signs, each of these houses, where along this journey you are, and you can apply this basic knowledge and information into your own chart and into your own life, you're going to be able to take next steps in your life much more easily, or seek out whatever it is that you need to get to the next steps in your life. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned something today. I would love to know in the comments below what you learned from this little presentation. Perhaps something new you learned about astrology. Maybe you had an insight into your life. I love hearing about these things. Again, I am astrologer Kelly Kasle. Find me on Instagram at KKASLE. If you go there, you can go to my link tree, which I just believe is / my name, Kelly Kasle. And you can book a reading with me if you want to get more into your own chart, take a course with me, learn more about astrology, or find me at an event or an upcoming talk. I'd love to meet you, love to work with you. So enjoy this video, and I will see you on the next one.